What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back with another top Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. Folks, we saw a lot of high-end cards come by this week, including several amazing Black Label card sales, including a full art Luigi Pikachu that sold for a price that will knock your socks off, along with a bunch of other amazing auctions. So stay tuned to the very end, because I also have a very important message for you as well. Before we get started, a shout out to today's auction recap sponsor. It is the one and only lowpopping.com, your source for investment-worthy Pokemon cards. Lowpopping.com just never fails to impress with their insane inventory of both vintage and modern Pokemon cards, which include high-end PSA, BGS, and CGC graded cards, along with a slew of sealed product, including booster boxes, sealed booster packs, theme decks, whatever your heart desires. Lowpopping.com probably has it for you. And still, the best thing about lowpopping.com, in my opinion, is your ability to trade for the card or piece of product that you must have for your collection. And don't forget, they still have buy now, pay later options also available for you to take advantage of. With new listings each and every week, you have to go check out lowpopping.com, folks. I will link the website in the description below. Please go take a look at their insane inventory and let me know what you pick up. Alright folks, let's jump into what you came to see, some Black Label sales. Here we have the Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze as a BGS 10 Black Label. Sold this week for $1,050, which is insane because this is like a $50 card as a PSA 10, but you put the Black Label on it and boom, it's like 20 times as much. Here we have a Black Label Charizard VMAX, the Rainbow Rare version from Champion's Path, that sold for $2,133. Here is a Black Label Charizard EX from Flashfire that sold for $2,550. And then we have this Japanese Charizard V Alt Art from Starbirth, or Brilliant Stars, that sold for $3,250. And then here we have a Black Label Lugia Reverse Star Hollow from the Best of XY that sold for $4,900. And then we also saw this Pikachu Stamp Box promo as a Black Label sell for $1,176. A couple of more interesting modern card sales. Here is an illustration rare Groudon that's been doing exceptionally well. This card is from Paradox Rift and sells as a PSA 10 for about $202. And then what have the metal cards from Celebrations been up to? I'm glad you asked. Here is a metal Pikachu as a PSA 10 that sells for about $710, while the metal Charizard sells as a PSA 10 for $1,700. Getting into the vintage portion, here is a non-hollow first edition Beedrill from base set that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,005. From Jungle set, we saw this first edition Flareon sell for $1,819. We saw this first edition Raichu from Fossil sell for $913. And from Team Rocket, we saw an unlimited Dark Charizard Holo sell for $1,375, while the first edition copy sold for $3,205. Here from Gym Challenge was this first edition Rockets Mewtwo as a CGC 10 Pristine, sold for $1,025. And then on to the Neo series, we saw this unlimited Slowking Holo from Neo Genesis as a PSA 10. Super low pop card, sold for $3,700 this week, along with this unlimited Yanma from Neo Discovery that sold for $1,007. Here we have the first edition Ho-Oh from Neo Revelation, one of my favorite Ho-Oh cards of all time, sold as a PSA 10 for $1,805. From Neo Destiny, we saw this Dark Gengar first edition holo that sold for $2,225, along with this Light Dragonite first edition holo that sold for $1,251. A couple of Shining cards came by. Here's a first edition Shining Mewtwo that sold for $3,200, along with this BGS 10 Pristine Japanese Shining Steelix that sold for $4,999. And then here is a first edition Shining Tyranitar from Neo Destiny that sold for $3,700. And then we saw the first edition Shining Charizard sell for $9,360. And then check this out, folks. Very interesting auction. It is a PSA 9 French Dark Tyranitar from Neo Destiny. Sold for $5,701. This is a confirmed paid for sale, folks. That's crazy. I guess I wouldn't know what to expect from a card like this. I wasn't expecting $5,700. So what do you think about this auction? From Legendary Collection, we saw this Reverse Holo Dark Blastoise sell for $2,512, while this Dark Blastoise box topper sold as a PSA 10 for $2,600. Here is a CGC 10 Gem Mint Reverse Holo Charizard from Legendary Collection that sold for $5,600. And then getting into the E-Series is this beautiful Expedition Mewtwo Holo, sold for $2,326. And then we saw a bunch of holos from Skyridge come by. Here's a Holo Moltres, sold for $910. This Holo Articuno sold for $1,025. Here is a Holo Vaporeon that sold for $1,051, along with this Flareon that sold for $1,325. Here is a holographic Houndoom that sold for $1,775. And one of the best Gyarados cards of all time from Skyridge sold for $2,550. Here is a Lugia Holo from Diamond and Pearl Secret Wonders that sold for $2,850. A Rayquaza EX from EX Deoxys sold for $1,993. And then here's a CGC 9.5 Gold Star Rayquaza that sold for $7,100 this week. Here is the one and only Prime card that I like, the Gengar Prime, sold for $1,002. And then here we have from Call of Legends, this Kyogre Holo that sold for $1,338. A couple of pieces of sealed product. Here is a Team Up booster box that sold for $2,125. And this box has been, as of late, consistently selling for over $2,000. Here we have a sealed black and white Emerging Powers box. The worst set of all time. I think it's pretty unanimous. This is the worst Pokemon card set of all time. And this box still sells for $1,600. If that isn't a testament to the strength of this hobby, I don't know what is. Here we have a blister pack from Skyridge featuring the Kabutops artwork, sold for $2,550. And then getting into the PWCC weekly auction block, we have this full art Sightseer, sold as a PSA 10 for $1,080. And last year, folks, this card was selling for over $2,000 all day. It has since come down to about half that amount. Here we have a BGS 10 Pristine Giratina V alt art from Lost Origins, sold for $1,080 as well. And then here is the Charizard Holo from Evolutions as a PSA 10. This is the lowest amount for a PSA 10 I've seen in a long time, selling this week for $1,110. Another card from Call of Legends, this Holo Palkia, sold for $1,290. And then here we have one of the best Mew cards of all time from Expedition. This Holo sold as a CGC 10 Gem Mint for $1,830. Here we have from Undaunted an Espeon Prime in PSA 10 that sold for $1,650, while this Umbreon Prime sold for $2,070. Here we have a CGC 10 Gem Mint Unlimited Charizard Holo from base set that sold for $2,760. Here is a Japanese Shining Celebi in PSA 10 that sold for $4,080. Here we have a first edition Dark Espeon from Neo Destiny, sold for $4,320. Here we have a Japanese 15th anniversary full art Reshiram, sold as a PSA 10 for $5,040. Here's a Japanese Sun and Moon GX Battle Boost Lily card that sold for $9,300. And then here we have another first edition Shining Charizard sold as a PSA 10 for $9,900, along with the Japanese version that sold for $19,200. Up next was this PSA 10 Masaki Gengar promo that sold for $13,800. And then we have this 1997 Japanese Top Sun Pikachu card that sold as a PSA 10 for $24,000. Which leads me to the auction of the week. It is this black label Japanese Luigi Pikachu full art card that sold for $30,600. This is a Pop 2 card as far as black labels go, folks. That is a one hefty price tag. What do you think? Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the very end. That is the auction recap, and this was the series finale. I will no longer be doing auction recaps. I will have a video to follow here explaining, but this was the final recap, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed the series. Let me know what you thought of these auctions in the comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. That's all I got today, folks. I'll catch you in my next one.